All right.
And I love it. I'll have you talking on the thing.
So we're straightening the wire. Technically, you have a tutorial if you tell me how to straighten the wire. But I've got basically 3 fingers on one side and my thumb on the other, so that when I press on the wire, it makes it make that shape.
Oh.
So it goes in a curve. And what I do is I keep that press and I pull that. So that bend went all the way down. But since it went through my like M-shaped fingers, it literally just pulled that bend all the way down. So at any point where I stop, you can see that the bend just
So it kind of goes around your fingers
with me, and it gets straightened. Like it just straightens back up because I'm pulling, and you just pass it through until all the big kinks are out. Because when you unwrap this wire, you'll look at it and you go, and it's very squidgy. And then to make it so you've got it like smooth, but now it's a curve, and you would like it to be straight, you do the same thing, but you just press less firmly, and it straightens it out.
Nice.
This is the kind of thing that you would get a feel for. And I turn it both directions, so you can see I've got my hand this way and then this way, and we're turning in 2 different planes, so that you do your kind of like your straight run, and you do your curves that way too. So you're curving it on multiple axes to get all of the kinks out, because what you're doing is you're kind of warming the metal a little bit because it's being frictioned. You're conditioning the metal a little bit because you're kind of like making all of the crystalline structure of the metal kind of flex and bend and flex and bend, and you're turning the small kinks into bigger kinks because you're bending them, and then they kind of follow with that big whoop-de-woo that you made. And then you're able to just, it's a lot easier to smooth a big curve than it is to smooth like this little nub at the end where I have to do a bunch of little squish and bend. And you can straighten that little end out.
And you've done about 18 inches there.
Yeah.
Ish.
I do what is either needed. So if I only need to make like 1 clasp, I might only try to straighten this much. There's a limit of how little you can straighten. I wouldn't straighten more than you can reach with your arm comfortably. If you're overextending, that's too much. You need to be able to put that pressure into it. And you can pull this arm back, but your shoulder. I try to keep it so that I'm still kind of straight and in line. And you can see that I don't have to put my shoulders out of line with my torso.
Yeah, you're not contorting, you're just...
Again, for longevity of being able to do the thing. Then I have a blank. This is 43 millimeters long. You match it up with the end so it's flat. And then you've got these bypass cutters. So there's like a near side of the cutter and the far side of the cutter. It cuts right where they bypass together. What you can do is, you've got them flat. You can use the plane of this to make something flat to press them up against. And then you see down here where that end is, you're going to butt that end without moving it, obviously, because you want these ends to stay. So you just sort of slide that up till it hits that low blade, the blade that's on the bottom, and then that's exactly the same
where you're going to be.
length.
Gotcha.
I'm going to cut a couple down this whole length, so we've got a couple of pieces to play with. That way you don't have to straighten and cut and straighten and cut.
So if those pliers flip, would I change the...
Nope, it's always going to be on the bottom. And you can look at it because this has black and silver. So you can kind of be like, the silver face is the face that is the one I'm looking at, and that's the bottom. But it's some of them are always black also, so you just think about it as the one on the bottom. You just kind of look at them and you're like, near side, far side. And you can hold 2 or 3 to kind of match up so you're not setting them down every single time. One of my main philosophies is not picking up and putting down tools more often than you have to.
You want to throw the fries on top?
Yeah.
I thought the corn could go in the microwave. The fries are, I think, in the container to the left.
So, we'll keep one of those out because that's a blank. So we say a blank because it is like the the initial building block of whatever you're making. However long that is, whether it's 43 millimeters or an inch, for like whatever you're doing, you have different lengths for different things. Do you have a question, Aaron?
No.
Want a coffee? Okay.
No.
So it's just the blank starting point that you're working from.
Okay.
And you can see that all of our pieces of wire
Yeah.
are all the same length.
Yeah.
Huzzah! We've made flat things. Little
Nice.
pieces of wire. And so these can all be turned into clasps. We're gonna do, not what I did when I ran her through the first time, just because I think probably for staying in plane, it'll make more sense. So you're gonna pick one end, and that's gonna be the end that you're gonna curl. Doesn't matter which end you pick, just pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna take your file. You know that files only work in one direction, generally.
Yeah, I'll listen to you because, yeah, I dealt with bigger,
Yes,
you know, and
same thing.
yeah.
The cross section of it is kind of toothed. So if you think about it, when you push with the file, the material is going to be caught in these teeth.
Yes.
But if you pull, it's going to skip across the top of those teeth,
Yeah.
and it's not going to go into the throat of those
Yeah.
teeth.
Okay.
And it's not going to do anything. So when you have any file that is not an expensive multi-directional file, it's probably only going to work on the push.
Okay.
So it's easier and longer, the file will last longer if you push, lift, push,
Gotcha.
lift. Because if you pull, you're going to smoosh those teeth over time. You're going to wear out the back of them so that your file just won't last as long. Now on brass or copper, that probably doesn't matter because the
Okay.
steel is going to win in the rock, paper, scissors of who's harder. But it will still eventually wear down. You know, a bajillion, drops of water on a rock, the water will eventually win. A bajillion copper blanks, eventually they will win against the single steel file.
So you're
you're-
going to go forward.
I'm going to go forward. And what I'm doing is this cut end of wire has a square end. We would like that square end to not be so square. We want it to break the corners is what we call it.
Okay.
Breaking that edge. And the way we're going to do that is I kind of post it up near the end of my finger and I
Sorry.
brace
Sorry.
on the back of the file with just one hand. You don't have to put a lot of pressure into it because if you dig in, this is a soft metal, it'll kind of like choke up and it doesn't do it better or faster.
Gotcha.
It just slows you down because you are fighting against the material. So just lightly, and since we're working on a circular thing, you can move your hand in kind of a semicircle. And you're just rotating the wire, and I'm doing that by moving my thumb forward and away from my fingertips
Yeah.
to make the wire roll. And that way you don't have to like pick it up and re-grab it, pick it up and re-grab it to turn it. You can just kind of roll it a little bit. And you're just breaking that edge.
So you're
that
rounding
it's-
the whole thing.
I'm lightly rounding the corner. So if
Yeah.
you run your fingertip over the end of this and feel it, and then compare it to the other one that hasn't been filed. Do you
Yeah.
feel how that
More-
one's catchy
more
and has a
buried.
sharp edge?
Mhm.
You just want to break that edge so it's a little bit smooth. That way when it's laying against your neck or your wrist or against a nice sweater, it's less likely to catch and snag you, fabric, whatever. So that's why
Yeah.
we do that.
Cool.
And then we've got this tool. So this goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So smallest is 1, 6 is the largest. And it just goes down in size. So if you look at it, you're like, you can see which one is bigger.
Yes.
We're using 2. So I usually bend things away from me. If you want to bend things towards you, you totally can. Just I tend to bend things away from me. I feel like I get a little more leverage on it that way. You're gonna grab as close to the end of the wire as you can without it just sort of squirting out the end. So you'll get a feel for it. You'll kind of look at it and be like, this is what it looks like.
And you're going with the number 2?
Yes, I'm going to wrap it around the number 2. I could wrap it around the number 1 from this position. I'm going to wrap it around the number 2 because I press away from myself. but you could pull towards yourself. I believe I press like that and I go away because I can
I don't know. Did it
twist
finish
my
the cycle?
wrist further
I
I think
in.
so. I'm not sure.
Then I can twist it out. I believe
Gotcha.
that's why I do it that way. And I am going to move both hands. So I'm going to roll this hand in and I'm going to press this hand away.
Mhm.
And that way I can wrap it all the way around. And now you can see it's not fully touching. That end isn't fully touching
Yeah.
because this is in the way. Like
Gotcha.
you physically won't be able to because it's in the way.
Gotcha.
So you move it over, you re-grip, so you squeeze down on it,
Keep going till
and
it
you
touches.
press it until it touches. So you want it to touch, you want the full loop. You'll hammer it, so you'll have to close that loop back up again, but you want that full loop.
Okay.
So you have the full loop, you're gonna set that flat on your hammering block, holding the hammer at the end. It's got this nice bulbous end so that you can hold it there. You want the weight of the hammer to do most of the work for you. If you're here, you have to use your arm to make it hit.
Mhm.
But here, you basically can just, you see how I have a loose grip on it? My hand is like open.
Yeah.
You
'cause
can
I
you can
started half
just
of them,
hammer
so it's
like
about as much as I
this.
could fit on a plate.
I hold it a little bit more firmly mostly because I want to be able to pick a direction because this is a rounded face. You want to be able to schmoo, like push the metal in whatever directions. Don't hold it too close to the edge or you'll make a line from where it hits here. You're going to focus on just the loop. And I'm mostly hitting with straight downward pressure, but it rolls out just a little bit. Again, you'll kind of get a feel for it. And you just want to mostly hit the part that you looped, not this part,
Mm-hmm.
mostly for aesthetics. Also, it'll make your life easier in one of the future steps.
Gotcha.
And you can always hit it more, but you can't unhit
Right.
it. And I flip it over so that the hammer texture will be on both sides.
Thank you.
And you can see the loop is opened up because
Wow.
we've hammered it.
Yeah.
But it's the same thickness all the
Yeah.
way around, and it has been flattened, so it has a little like a flat
Look her in the
profile
back so we
and
can
a round
peek here.
profile.
Sure.
You can kind of
Why
see
not?
that.
Got it. Got
It
it.
opened up, so you're gonna just do the same thing you did when you made it, and you're gonna close it up a little bit
Nice.
because you don't want it to snag. You want this to be fully closed so it doesn't snag stuff.
Gotcha.
So your loop is all closed. So now that your loop is closed, hold it, whether it's loop facing up or loop facing down. Hold it so that loop is at a 90-degree from the flat. So if you think of this as a flat
Mm-hmm.
and the loop is a flat, you want them to be dude and dude so that
Okay.
they are two different planes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You don't want it to be like this where it's all on the same plane. You want two different planes.
Gotcha.
Now you're going to hammer the end. This one you're going to hammer away from the loop. So you're going to move the hammer in a slightly circular motion almost. And you're going to hit on just the tip. You're going to want it, you want it to fan out so it's a little bit of a flared
Mm-hmm.
shape. And I will flip that over. That's why it doesn't matter whether you start it with it up or down. I flip it over. I do both sides.
Gotcha. Kind of forming a.
Like a wedge, like a triangle. And that way
Yeah.
it flares out. Now, feel that end? Can you guess what we're gonna do?
Yeah.
We're gonna file it. Because we would again like it to not be sharp. So I've got the flats and I'm going to kind of focus on taking
It's
off
Indian
that
Manhattan.
corner. So again, you do your kind of rounded motion and you just do a couple of passes and
Can
you
you
can
roll it
flip
with
it
your
over.
finger like you did the other one? As you're
Yeah.
filing, you're rolling it.
Once I'm done with getting the corners off. So right here, I'm just holding it straight
I just wasn't sure if that bowl was
because
clean.
I want the corner to get rounded more than I want like the whole thing to be rounded.
So your triangle is now rounded.
Do you have any
Yes.
salsa or
So it's
anything
still
for-
flared, but it doesn't have sharp corners.
Okay.
And then you want the corners of the edge to also be smoothed over. So you do a couple of passes like that, flip it over, a couple of passes like that. So that now it's got like a semicircle shape on the
Yeah.
end. And when you run your finger over it,
Oops, sorry.
you gotta feel it.
Yeah.
You feel how that's much smoother than what I just had you feel. So,
Crunch on
smooth,
Yeah.
rounded.
Thank you.
So, if you look at it like this curls up this way. We're gonna make like a ski, the end of a ski on this side. And it's also going to go the same direction as that loop. So that they both go up or
Gotcha.
away or toward, whichever direction you're doing it. They both go the same direction. This uses 4, so we went 1 and 2, and now we're gonna go 3 and 4.
Okay.
Again, you're gonna grab it as close to the end as you can.
Okay.
So you're grabbing it right near the end. And so if you think about this as like this is your starting point, this is 0 degrees, and this is 90 degrees because it's like a full corner.
Mhm.
You want to get it to 90 degrees.
Okay.
So pressing with your thumb, you're gonna press.
I
Do you
love
see
the
how I
feet
went
over
kind of
flying.
past how it
Just a
bends?
hair.
Because it springs
Brings
back.
back.
Again, you'll get a little feel. You can always bend it more, harder to unbend. But you can see now, we started here, and now we're here. And we're in a nice right
Gotcha.
angle, 90 degrees. It has moved 90 degrees.
Okay.
And now, got your little ski
Ah,
end.
I gotcha.
And again, we're gonna use 4. Yep. And you're gonna grab it right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
And you want your little ski end to line up. So if you think of your ski end as part of a circle, imagine it as like part of a circle. This is also a circle. You want your circles to kind of meet at the same like peak of the circle.
I see
You don't
it.
want this circle to meet like with the end of it over here or to be way past. You want your circles to kind of line up.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to kind of think of your ski as part of a circle, but it was because we used part of a circle to make it.
Yeah.
So not too hard to think of it as a
Yeah,
circle.
because right now you're in the middle and you're going to be pretty close.
Yeah. So in the middle, I need to bend it around, and I'm going to bend both sides. And I'm not going to re-grip a lot at first. I'm going to use kind of like my knuckle and pull it. If you have finger cuts, it's more comfortable. This kind of digs in and makes a bit of a dent. So if you're going to do a bunch of them, you want the finger cuts. It'll be more comfy. But then you can re-grip, and again, you just bend. And this is where you're kind of like looking down at it. And you're like, okay, so which side seems longer? Which side should you bend in to make this circle and this circle a kiss at just the right point?
Yeah, maybe both of them.
I was
but
gonna
this
say
one
which
this
end do
one
you
seems
think is
longer
more?
right now.
Okay, so
Right.
we'll bend that side in a little bit more, and we'll bend this side in a little bit more. So which side now do you think should bend in more?
Probably this one.
Still that one? I'm gonna actually disagree with you.
Okay.
I think that it needs to be this one,
Okay.
and then just a scooch
There.
more. And you want these because they haven't been hammered yet. You want them to be pretty much touching, not 100%, but
Yeah,
close to
very
touching.
close.
So you see how we've got,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna hit it with a hammer. And this is where you came in, and we're hammering just this
Yeah,
little
that's the very
end, because this is gonna reinforce that curve. We're gonna turn it from a round thing that can bend any which way to kind of a rectangular thing, which is much more durable to bending.
It's just like half.
And you're using like this third of the hammer face.
Yes.
But don't angle too far and hit it with this corner because that'll make icky dents.
Gotcha.
They will look gross. And you're aiming to have all of your hammered spots kind of come out the same width. So if you look at that, you can kind of see how the loop is hammered out to about the same width as the, because you can really wail on this and you can spread it out real thin. Not
Okay.
necessarily the look we're going for. And then the last step is, you see how this jump ring just,
Goes
it
in
just
there.
flips in? That means that something can come unclasped. we
So
would
you go a
like to
little
be
bit
able
more.
to put a little bit of effort in, so we'll bend it back in a little bit because it's spread when we hammered it, which is why we weren't worried about it being too close when we started. And now,
Oh,
it-
got a little.
yep, it's got a little, it touches. So that jump ring touches when it passes through that point where the circles almost touch.
Gotcha.
And you did too much, you can't pass it, but too little, and it'll just fall out.
Nice.
You want it to just have enough resistance that it won't come apart. And that's a clasp.
Wow. Okay.
So
Wow.
we'll figure
Very
like
nice.
you eat food and then we'll have
What's
you
my
do
one?
we'll have you do one. And I'll do one at the same time so you can watch me